Okay, so the time is 2:30, at least in my local time. Welcome everybody to this Mobaro webinar with the reopening toolkit. It's about time to introduce my colleague, David Brownlow, for the basic introduction.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. First of all, thanks for joining us for the webinar this afternoon. I know you're all probably getting very busy right now with your reopening processes. What I would like to do is just give you a quick introduction to Mobaro, to the people, folks out there that don't currently use our system. We're a Danish-based software solution operating in some 130 attractions, varying size around the world. We have our main HQ is in Denmark, where Christian is currently based. I'm based in the UK, and we have senior team members situated in Asia and the US. So that's a little bit about Mobaro, but where we're going right now with our industry, it's a very exciting time for us, as I'm sure you all feel the same way, as we're getting ready to reopen. So as I've been working with the industry over the last sort of 5 or 6 weeks now, collaborating with the various associations and parks, a lot of talk has been about reopening and how we can do that safely. So at Mobaro, we've been working on various programs with our clients on how we can deliver this. And a lot of it, as we all know, is going to be through enhanced checklists. So times are changed. So with the next 2 or 3 months, we're going to be opening, but we're going to be doing it slightly differently. We are going to have enhanced regimes. And most of these will be around checklists and audits. And of course, that is what our system is based on, is on checklists and audit systems. So what we decided to do was to put together maybe a dozen checklists around a COVID-19 protocol. So, and this is what we'd like to talk to you about today. I'm not going to go into the details of the actual program itself. As most of you that know me, I will fail, and Christian will take you through that after I've finished. So what we're talking about today is enhanced checklists and enhanced audits. These could be bathrooms, they could be ride restraint systems, sanitization, high frequency, high contact surfaces, spacing markers, and guest flow and behavior. So typically in the UK, for example, we would do this based on risk assessment. So I'm sure you've been taking on board your local regulations, your local guidance, insofar as these enhanced procedures. So the first thing I would say is obviously we need to have a monitor on this. So each park or attraction are going to have senior team members, team leaders that are going to be the COVID-19 monitors, and that's where it needs to start. So you've got some form of supervision and management over the program. So what we're going to talk about next is the sort of the checklists and the reporting, the maintenance and the auditing of these new provisions. So Christian, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So yeah, this whole initiative is an attempt to support the industry getting back on track. And the setup that I'm about to present to you is free for COVID-19 specific use for the entirety of 2020 and 21. And it is a no strings attached offer from our end. I will be focusing on giving you a sort of quick introduction to the web and mobile application, and focusing on sort of the basic stuff that we've prepared, as well as showcasing some of the checklists and other materials that we've prepared for you. And this should hopefully give you a sort of 360 introduction to the content that you will be getting access to if you choose to activate this offer, as well as an overall introduction to how simple it would actually be to activate this tool in your organization. Now, the Mobaro application is working in all modern browsers, and it is the go-to place for account administrators and supervisors for the most part. You do all of your general configuration of the Mobaro setup, meaning administering users, locations, etc. There might be a lot on the screen right now. Fret not, the Mobaro system does adapt to the user who logs in. So for example, menu items will only be available if the logged in user has access to the material behind it. So most users who logs into the Mobaro application will see a significantly simpler view of what is there than what you're seeing now. Yeah, so let me just run through some of the basic areas in Mobaro. Locations is where checklists and assignments are being done, and the users are the ones who do it. Now let's jump into checklists then. Checklists are a unit of work in Mobaro. It is something that can be completed by one or more users. A checklist consists of any number of questions that the users are presented with when going through the checklist, and which needs to be answered in one way or another. That is controlled by the different question types that we support. But basically, as expected, a checklist is just a list of checkpoints that the user needs to fill out. So these are the checklists that sort of define all the new routines that you would like to implement in your organization. Assignments are also units of work, although they are significantly smaller. So assignments can be registered independently, so I can create an assignment for a user on a location, but an assignment can also be registered directly from a checklist. So assignments are also a way to create sort of an assignment loop outside of the regular checklist. That will also be a lot more clear when we jump into the assignment into the mobile app in just a few minutes. Now, what I wanted to take from this is that users are completing checklists on locations, and all of this is pouring data into your setup. Now, in its smallest part, each completed checklist results in a report, and reports are listed under the results item here in your menu. And here I'm presented with a total list of all the checklists that's been completed on our test setup here. I can see which checklist it is, where it has been completed, and some timestamps for when it was answered and when we received it, as well as the user who completed it. And sorry about everything being a bit squished, it's because of the zoom level here. Now I can select the report and view it to inspect all the details that were submitted on the report. Now, so this is a way for you to inspect all the individual reports and all the information that has been gathered from here. If you want to look at all the images that might have been submitted through the different checklists, you can do so in the gallery instead. That is similar to the result overview, but focusing more specifically into all the images that have been submitted. Similar to the different questions in the report, the margin, the colored margin out here to the left of each of the images indicates the performance of the question where the image is submitted from. So results in gallery is a way for you to inspect individual reports as well as inspect individual images and work with them. If you want to do reporting in aggregate, this is where our dashboards comes in. Now, Mobaro features a full-fledged dashboard designer that administrative users can use to set up dashboards and configure them with different widgets and filters and distribute them to users and all that jazz. In order to fast track that experience, the Mobaro reopening toolkit comes configured with 2 default dashboards that are meant to give you sort of an operational insight into your Mobaro setup right here and right now. So if I open my dashboard folder here in my menu, I can go to my compliance dashboard, and what that gives me is a broad overview of how my Mobaro setup is performing today. So if we go through the different widgets, just from the top row here, left to right, we have a widget called completed today, saying 8, indicating that a total of 8 checklists has been completed in my setup today. Right beside it, we have a missed checklists, luckily saying 0, meaning that 0 of the checklists that have been scheduled for completion today has been missed. If I want to dive into any of this data, I always have the option to activate the widget's drill down feature, and I can do so just by clicking the figure in it. So if I click 8 and I want to interrogate what this 8 actually stems from, I can click it and I can see here that the completed checklists are distributed across these 8 different locations: the bumper cars, drop tower, information center, the lawn, pizza restaurant, restroom number 2, south entrance, and south playground. And if I click any of these, I'm taken to the list of this of the checklist that has been completed on that particular location. In this case, it's the post-opening rides checklist that has been completed on the bumper cars with a 100% score. So the registration of that is A-OK. If we go a bit further to the right, we are introduced to this concept of readiness. Readiness in Mobaro is means to what extent the checklist that has been scheduled for a certain period of time has been completed. So we have a widget called today's readiness, and we have one called total readiness. And today's readiness is focusing in on today's performance. So what we're seeing here is that 47% of all the activities that have been planned for today has been executed. While if we look a bit outside today and perhaps for the rest of the week or the month or whatever sort of timeline our current activities are planned for, we can see that our total readiness is only 29%. So that means that there is a number of checklists that are running beyond today that are also unfinished. Scrolling down a bit on my dashboard, we see a today's average score per location. So that is the checklist performance on a per location basis. So for example, I can see here that my common areas are only performing at a 62%, while my entrance areas are performing on a 92%. My average score over the past 3 days is the next chart here, so I can monitor how my performance is across perhaps all of my rides or all of my locations over the course of each day. And finally, down here at the bottom, we have a list of the latest images that have been submitted via different checklists. Now, by default, this dashboard shows me a view that is focused on today's performance. If I want to view at it in a bit more broader timeline, I can change the filter from today to month to date, which now changes the different widgets filterings to, instead of looking at just today, everything is now looking at month to date instead. So I can see here that my month to date jumps from my completed checklist jumps from 8 to 30, while my missed checklist jumps from 0 to 12. My readiness for today and the total readiness, of course, doesn't change. That is something that is a snapshot of the state right now. But of course, my average score per location also changes. You can see that there's a bit more rides or areas included in this chart compared to before. All of these filters and setups can be manipulated and configured and extended. These are just an example of the 2 basic filterings that the dashboards are supplied with. If I want to see a similar view, but I want to see it split up on a location basis instead, I have my location status dashboard that I can make use of. It gives me a simple view of, again, completed activities today, 8 completed checklists, 0 missed, and a readiness of 29%. And if I drill down, then I have my what we call our location overview. This dashboard elements is pretty cool. What you have here is each of these blocks corresponds to a location in your setup, and the color on the top here indicates the readiness status of that location. So just by looking at this, I can see that, for example, my bumper cars, they are actually ready right now, but there are other checklists available on it that deadlines after today. So all of the activities that are scheduled for bumper cars today are complete, but there are more available that deadlines after today. Same thing goes for my burger restaurant. The candy store is red because there are open checklists on that location right now that deadlines today. So there is sort of urgent activities planned on that location that needs to be paid attention to. And let me see if we have some green locations. No, we don't, but sorry. Green locations are, of course, the final color, indicating that all activities on that particular location has been completed You'll also note that some of these locations have a exclamation icon at the left of the title bar here. And what that means is that there is one or more assignments created for that location, which is marked as high priority. And if we look at the metrics that are written on each of the locations here, we can see that under the checklist header, we have 3, one called Done Today, one called Deadline Today, and one called Available Now. And what that means is that one checklist has been completed on this location today. There are 0 remaining checklists that deadlines today. However, there is one that is available on the location, which will deadlines at a later point in time. And under the, related to this, we have the assignment header on the widget here, indicating the number of high priority assignments on the location, the one that we just saw before. And also we have a counter that counts the number of assignments that are past their deadline. So that is all the 5 key metrics that are shown here on each of the locations. And now you have different options to how you want to render this this reporting element. So if I just want to, let's say, for example, I don't want to see the assignment information, if I want to sort the locations by status, I can do so, which now makes it a bit simpler to view. I only have my checklist metrics displayed on it, and I'm now sorting the locations in a way where red, being the most critical ones, are now at the top of the list, and then comes the yellow ones, and then if we had any greens, they would be last. So the location overview is very much a central piece of operational reporting that we use in Mobaro, and which is also actually available in our mobile app. And now with that done, let me just summarize some key points here. The web application is mainly intended for supervisor or administrative use. It is where you go to administrate your users, your locations, but also configure and edit your checklists. You also have access to assignment management tools. And as I showed you, this is also where you go to inspect individual reports or inspect individual images through the result overview as well as the gallery. Mind you that these tools are also available in the mobile app, but for sort of a more in-depth view and a bit more workspace, it is most often done on the web application. For aggregated reporting, we have our dashboards, which are also available in web application. And as I showed you, dashboards comes in a wide variety. The different widgets can be configured to a great extent, and they all feature this drill down feature where you can ask the system to in a bit more detail elaborate on what, for example, these 8 completed checklists are, or what is behind a readiness of 29%. Our mobile application is available on all major platforms. The mobile app is targeted towards field staff, so the main functions are working with assignments and working with checklists. However, the mobile app does also offer access to the manual library, which is something that we haven't activated in this toolkit from the beginning, that is. But you also have access to the report archive, a mobile version of the gallery, and other features. Cool. So hopefully you can all see this. So this is the dashboard, and that is the main page of the mobile application that the user logs into. And the user is presented with all these different tiles, and the dark blue ones are doorways to the different main areas of the mobile application. And let me try to just give you a very quick rundown of the main ones. Of course, right in the middle, we have my profile picture, and clicking that reveals that I can access different options for my user, language settings, and all notification settings, all that kind of stuff. And by clicking this picture here, I can also snap a new selfie if I want to replace my my current profile picture. Now, the gallery is identical to, or is the mobile version of the gallery in the web application that I showed you just before. The reports tab here is a report archive, again similar to the result list that I showed you in the web application. So this is where I can list and view all of the individual checklists that have already been completed in different formats. The toolkit comes with a compact report, a detailed report, and a discrepancy report. And I sadly don't have much time to cover the detailed explanation of what report types are, but do note, just know that the detailed report is the default one that shows you every single piece of information that we've captured on a complete report. The compact report is the same thing, but in a bit more compact format. And the discrepancy report is again narrowed further down to show you only the sub-performing or the underperforming questions in that particular checklist. In this case, I can select the detailed report, which will open up the report in a format similar to the one that we used on the web application just a few minutes ago. Yes. We also have the calendar, where I can view a bit ahead of time and see what's going on and see the activities that are planned for my user. The library is where I can access documentation that is relevant for me or has been deemed relevant for me. Nothing is by default added on the reopening toolkit, so it is currently empty. But documentation can be PDFs as well as video material hosted on either YouTube or Vimeo. And that leaves us with a few crucial tiles. One of them being the assignments, which again is all the assignments that my user has some kind of access to and that I can complete. I have different options for how I want to present this list. This is the basic one where each of them is just presented as an item in a long list. Top ones being high priority, which is marked by the blue star, and then at some point we have one without the blue star, which is normal priority assignments. I can click any of them to get taken to the details on the assignment. I can view what has happened to it over time. And if I so desire, I can also add a solution to it and mark it as resolved. And as an assignment solution is described by a piece of text and perhaps some image attachments. Now, we were talking about dashboards just before, and I spent a significant amount of time on showing you the location dashboard in the web application. Now we have a similar, or we have a sort of an approximation to it in the mobile application, which is available here. So what I'm seeing here is tiles representing the different areas of my organization. You might recall some of them from the one of the charts that showed you the average score or the average performance on the different areas of my organization. So we have the games, arcade, FEC, common areas, entrance areas here. And what I'm showing you here is, you might note that there's a border around each of these areas, and the border indicates the readiness. So I can actually deduce that this is about 67% ready. So 67% of the checklist for today has been completed on this group of locations. You will also note that some of the groups here has the red star in the top corner, indicating that somewhere inside that group of locations, there is one or more location that has a high priority assignment. So that is similar to the exclamation mark that you saw on the individual locations in the web version of the dashboard just before. So a lot of insight available here and a lot of details to uncover if you were to use it now. And now to the sort of the main attraction, which is the checklist tab. Similar to the dashboard from before, the border around my checklist tile indicates my readiness for today. So as this goes blue, and I hope you can see it on your screen, it indicates sort of the readiness aspect that I told you before, hopefully trending towards 100%. So it's an indication of how many of the checklists that I can do for today that has actually been completed at this point in time. If I open my checklist, I am being presented with a long list of all the different checklists that this toolkit contains and that has been planned for today. Each of these items on the list is an instance of a checklist that needs to be completed on a location. So I can see here that in this case, this is the post-opening entrance checklist, and it is scheduled for the main entrance location. And similarly for the one below it is the post-opening food and beverage checklist scheduled for the burger restaurant, and so it goes. Now, by clicking one of these, I can start the checklist, and now I'm being guided through the different questions that this checklist consists of. All the different checklists that the Mobaro reopening toolkit includes has been we've paid a lot of attention to make it simple, easy to understand and work with, and don't clutter it with too much information. So the basic format that each of the questions in the reopening toolkit takes has this sort of shape to it, with 4 different answer options. One called yes, one called no, but problem solved. Then we have a third one called no, create assignment, and a fourth one called not applicable. I can create an outstanding assignment for somebody else to administer after the completion of this checklist. So I can select the no, create assignment button, which will prompt the creation of an assignment by me. And all I need to do here is fill out an assignment. Needs cleaning. Press save. Now I can choose to add attachment to it by clicking here, but that is optional. So I can just press save. Now the no create assignment answer option has been selected, and an assignment is now registered right here below it. And I can now continue with the checklist. Now this is a completed or answered question. And if I head to the next section, I'm now asked with a few extra questions here. And as you can see, they take on the same form as the question from before. So I can answer yes, no, but problem solved, no create assignment, and the not applicable answer option to carry on. And let's do so. And let's go to the next page here. And let's head down to the final question. Now, let me just spend a minute to tell you a bit about the plus icon that you'll note that is following you on each and every of the single questions. Now, that indicates that there is the option for you to add additional information to this question. Now, let me just reset this question up here and unselect yes. You will note that out here in the left margin of the question, we now have a gray color instead of the blue color. The blue color indicates that the question has been answered. The gray color indicates, just as up here in the top part that I was talking about before, that the question is or remains unanswered. So if I say next question and I'm now at the final page, you will note that the button down here says not done yet. The basic rule of a Mobaro checklist is that all questions that the user is presented with needs to be completed. So I, as a user, is not able to hand in this checklist before I've answered all questions. Now, by pressing the not done yet, I can see here that the page called installations has 1 question left, and which is also why it's marked with a gray color. I can click it to be taken directly to it, answer it, select next question, and then press done to finally submit the report. Now, the report is being submitted, and it can then be found in the web application under the results page. And similarly, I can find it again here under the reports page. Here it is, the one that I just completed. Now, there are some basic notification rules set up with the Mobaro toolkit. So any checklists that are not performing 100% will create or trigger a discrepancy report that are being sent to the relevant supervisor. We also ship out email notifications about work forecasts, so they contain all the different activities that have been planned for the different users. And we also send out weekly activity summaries that on a supervisor level sum up the different Mobaro activities that has been taking place. So that would be open assignments, completed assignments, completed checklist, but also missed checklist, so that you can dive into the underlying metrics directly into the web application from the links that are contained in the email notifications. Now, that was a lot of information to take in. Hopefully, this gives you a brief introduction to well, both the vastness of the Mobaro platform, but hopefully also how simple it might be able to be done, at least with all the templates that we've done for the reopening checklists. Now, if you want to activate this in your organization and give it a try, what you need to do is contact us at info@mobaro.com. We will then send you a few Excel templates for users and locations that you will need to fill out. And based on that, we will load those data into setup at Mobaro, and we will do a quick check-in with you on a 30-minute Skype or Teams call or whatever to get the stuff finalized and configured. And then we will be ready to ship activation emails to you and your team. Do note that this is not something, not any sort of a fire and forget setup. This offer also includes an in-depth introduction video to our reopening toolkit, which goes a lot more deeper into details than what I've managed to do on the short time that we have available here. It also contains access to our knowledge base articles and, of course, available to access to our help desk if any of your supervisors, administrators, or end users need any sort of help getting started. So in basic, you can register with just a team of mobile users and we can get you started from here, or you can do a bit broader setup where you have both administrative users who want to make use of the dashboards and the checklist editors and anything in between. We will also be arranging a follow-up meeting with you in a week or 2 weeks time after getting started on the reopening toolkit to discuss any sort of enhancements or alterations that you would like to see done to the Mobaro setup. So we will be able to do all sorts of customizations to the setup within the limits of the COVID-19 reopening sort of scenario. So we are hoping that a lot of you will make use of this offer, and we are very much looking forward to getting you guys started. But yeah, I think that's about it from David and I and my colleague Rasmus, who's been answering the questions and doing all the stuff behind the scenes. I think we'll say thank you for this time, and thank you for taking time to sit in on our webinar on the Mobaro reopening toolkit. If you have any questions or want to know more about it, or just want to get started on it, do get in touch with us at info@mobaro.com. We will be happy to get you going really quick. Otherwise, thank you very much. Have a great day. Bye.